With the all-time scoring mark safely in LeBron James's hands, we are swiftly going to change topics on the Lakers. Was Tuesday night Russell Westbrook's last in a Laker uniform? The Clippers' offer for Kyrie Irving was subpar, and the press is turning up the pressure on the LA Galaxy to move on from Chris Klein. Good morning, I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It is February 8, 2023, glorious morning outside. And if you like the content we put out about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yeah, comment. Why not? There's going to be stuff to talk about on historic days and the future today. Before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. Oklahoma City 133, Lakers 130. Okay, LeBron James' step-back shot with 10.9 seconds left in the third quarter lifted him over Lakers legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the all-time scoring league in history. Lovely moment, got to admit. The commissioner gave his expected bland Chamber of Commerce chicken dinner type speech. Abdul-Jabbar and James, they embraced multiple times. Very classy. Both sides, James and Abdul-Jabbar, very gracious. And while James did get a little misty-eyed in his speech, though, let's not get sidetracked. Thursday's game was one they should not have lost because Oklahoma City played the night before. They should have been gassed. They scored 133 points. LeBron James wants championships. This team is not there. The Lakers still commit way too many turnovers. They don't sink enough threes. The defense is obviously lousy because you gave up 133 points to a team that played the night before, and they're still too short. And that's why we are going to switch topics from LeBron to the future of the Lakers. Meanwhile, today, by the way, Dallas is going to play the Clippers. Okay, let's get back to the Lakers. There is 1/3 of the NBA regular season left, and if the playoffs started today, the Lakers would again be on the outside looking in. Not in the play-in round, definitely not in the playoffs. I realize a good winning streak will do it, but is this team as currently constructed capable of putting together even a modicum of a decent winning streak? I've seen enough Lakers basketball this year to believe that if they do not make a trade for players that fit what Darvin Ham is trying to accomplish more, that James breaking the record is the only real highlight that you are going to get out of the Lakers this year. Straight and simple. Now that's okay if the plan is to land an elite player in free agency. But are you optimistic that that's going to happen with $35 million in cap space and a wink and a smile from Magic Johnson when many more players are actually making more than $35 million a year? Russell Westbrook made over $40 million a year, for example, and where's he? No disrespect to Westbrook, but that's just a fact. So lost in the hoopla, lost in the let's stop the game and rush the court stuff, lost in Jalen Rose's extremely weak Anthony Davis take, or is LeBron James the GOAT? Has Russell Westbrook played his last game in a Lakers uniform? And if so, consider what he did last night, an entire microcosm of his Lakers career. He scores 27 points, yeah, but he committed a team worst 6 turnovers off the bench. So we've been patient on this channel for months about swatting away rumors and not indulging ourselves in gossip and innuendo. Today, because the trade deadline is Thursday, let's indulge ourselves. Let's at least set the stage for what the Lakers' next 24 hours is going to look like. I've gone through a number of legit sources to find common threads about who the Lakers ask about and what the market allegedly is. Here is the common theme. Toronto controls the trade market right now. Which is strange because the only thing Canada should control is reindeer meat and maple syrup, but that's just me. The Raptors have 3 players that not only the Lakers want, but a lot of other teams would want. So right now, until those three dominoes fall, if they fall, the trade market is in a little bit of limbo. Side note, one of the players from Toronto that the Lakers want, the Clippers also want. That would be guard Fred VanVleet. OJ Anunoby is a defensive stopper who would be in high demand. But there's a caveat. A lot of the teams in the trade market now are also wondering, is Kevin Durant so pissed at the Nets that he might become a free agent in the offseason? So those two dominoes, wobbly. We have no idea where they're going. Anunoby, VanVleet, could be in a Lakers uniform. Could be. No idea. Utah, also in play for a potential Lakers trade. But they simply don't have a lot of assets that would move the needle for the Lakers. Mike Conley can shoot. Yes. But if you're talking about 2 first-round picks along with Westbrook's expiring contract, they have to give a lot more than just Mike Conley. Straight and simple. I've seen at least 4 or 5 names bandied about, including a potential reunion with former Laker Jordan Clarkson. If it's Conley and Clarkson, that's not too impressive. Charlotte, also on the periphery. The Hornets still stink the stink of the Charlotte Bobcats. That's how bad they've been. But Terry Rozier can shoot, and he would actually be a long-term starter in purple and gold. PJ Washington adds size. The Lakers, though, again, you would need more. You're giving up multiple first-round draft picks and a massive expiring contract. Now, you might be saying to yourself, with the things that I've put out there, good Lord, that is not Kyrie Irving. And you know what? You'd be right. I don't like lying to people. Not on this channel, especially. We finally found out who the Clippers allegedly offered for Kyrie Irving. The Athletic reports that it was Luke Kennard, Terrence Mann, a first-round pick, plus 2 future first-round pick swaps. Quote, plus filler. Plus filler? What about that proposal is not filler? It looks like filler on top of filler on a plate of filler, right? That offer is like rice-a-roni mixed with Oreo stuffing on top of hamburger helper covered with a layer of Cheese Whiz. It was nothing but filler. Stop it, guys. Stop it. But as for the Clippers' possibilities in the next 24 hours, Yahoo Sports suggests that teams have inquired about Mann. We also know that the Clippers' target appears to be way more towards traditional point guard than it is to backup center. And the names being bandied about that you're going to hear about a lot for the next 24 hours, D'Angelo Russell, Kyle Lowry, and Rozier from Charlotte, also on the Lakers list. The problem the Clippers face, though, is that the Phoenix Suns are also in need of a long-term replacement at point guard because Chris Paul, well, the tread's wearing a little thin on them tires. The press is starting to get the hint. Galaxy supporters are hopping mad in the direction of the team. Within the last 24 hours alone, 2 MLS columnists have written long treatises about the dreadful, painful descent of the league's marquee franchise. An LA Times columnist said the Galaxy is now a joke. Did not mince words, a joke. Yahoo then came out and said that if Galaxy president Chris Klein cares about the club, he needs to resign. And if AEG actually cares about the club, they should force Klein out. Now you're asking yourself, okay, is this going to make much of a difference? Not yet. No. But simply put, the Galaxy brand has to become, the way that AEG is holding on to Chris Klein, the Galaxy brand has to become so toxic that Anschutz Entertainment Group has to cut its losses. Toxic. Not just in the wallet, but in the perception. Everything has to look foul in order for them to say, you know what, we can't have this guy anymore. What if the Rose Bowl game also included a giant protest outside, larger than the 100 people who showed up at Dignity Health Sports Park? So big that Apple TV had no choice but to cover it. So big that the LA Times had no choice but to cover it. What would happen? Honestly, I've been weighing whether or not to go to that game. I've said it before. I'm leaning now towards going. I'm a former reporter. If there's a protest, I want to be there for it. As for the Galaxy offseason, a writer for MLSsoccer.com believes there is no new designated player coming in, that DP is actually going to be on the roster already, Ricky Puig. Also, the writer is speculating that the 3-5-2 alignment that LA employed in Saturday's exhibition game might actually be the plan going forward. In that alignment, Chicharito gets paired up top with Dejan Joveljic, and Douglas Costa comes off the bench. Now, if you're a Galaxy supporter, it's kind of hard to argue with that in terms of the theory. I will grant you, though, that the alignment change is like putting a Band-Aid on a gaping head wound, right? It's an attempt to mask the team's weaknesses instead of showcasing their strengths. For example, they don't start Costa. That's not a sign of strength. That's a sign of weakness. Besides, Greg Vanney is known to prefer a 4-3-3. Costa would be in a 4-3-3. That's how weak Costa has become in the last year. It's also an alignment that makes me wonder if Greg Vanney actually does have control of personnel decisions, like the Galaxy claimed when Chris Klein was suspended. Because if Greg Vanney actually did have personnel decisions, he wouldn't have the personnel for a 3-5-2. He would go for his favorite 4-3-3 and get personnel to fit that. The LA Times is suggesting the Galaxy are close to adding former U.S. men's national team winger Tyler Boyd, but where are the big additions the team has promised? Just asking. The Rams introduced their new offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur, to the press. I read 3 articles that promised to tell me what he's going to do. And then none of the writers came through and told me what he's going to do. They didn't tell me jack squat. Look, straight up, if you want to know what's going to make the difference in the Rams offense next year, it's simple. Healthy Matthew Stafford, healthy Cooper Kupp, competent offensive line. Straight and simple. The Athletic also took a peek at the Rams' top 10 free agents and played spin the bottle with who's going to stay or go. The top decision the Rams have to make is that both top free agents are starting defensive linemen. LA cannot afford to keep both, but A'Shawn Robinson will cost more than Greg Gaines, so do you keep Gaines? The Athletic is definitely guessing that you can say goodbye to guard David Edwards, safeties Nick Scott, Taylor Rapp, cornerback David Long. Maybe they keep kicker Matt Gay, offensive lineman Coleman Shelton, who was pretty productive, and wideout Brandon Powell. As for Baker Mayfield, they have no idea. With the wild fluctuations in the Trojans' locker room over at Heritage Hall, multiple news outlets are actually in unison over who the biggest additions are for USC. Wide receiver Dorian Singer, formerly of Arizona, he's not coming in with the pedigree of a Jordan Addison, but could already be the Trojans' number 1 wide receiver. He was targeted 98 times in 12 games, caught 66 of those passes for more than 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. Now, as for defense, the same writers are not claiming that Anthony Lucas is going to be leading the nation in sacks like Tui Pelotu did. But coming from Texas A&M as a sophomore, Lucas was a top 60 prospect coming out of high school. So they think he's going to be the anchor of a rebuilt USC defensive line. Yesterday, the Trojans also added a kicker to its recruiting class, Tyler Robles of La Costa Canyon in the San Diego area. Robles kicked 7 of 9 field goals last year, including a long shot of 52 yards. As for USC basketball, wins over UCLA and both Washington schools have not lifted the Trojans to sure thing status for the NCAA tournament. Pretty much anyone with a pulse knows that UCLA is a lock. They're definitely going. As for the Trojans, the Athletic states that USC has to avoid bad losses from here on out because the Pac-12 simply isn't that impressive. Oregon, the Trojans play them on Thursday. That would be a challenge. Definitely Arizona at home later this year. But if the Wildcats are the only loss, then the Trojans should be in for a third consecutive year. So what exactly are the LA Sparks trying to accomplish this offseason? I could throw random names against the wall, but that doesn't mean you should be impressed. I mean, it's kind of funny. ESPN ran a random graphic on Twitter about a WNBA team in New York, calling these three players the, quote, new big three. And I'm looking at this graphic, and I have no idea who the hell they are or what the hell they do. So how is that a big three? And that's no disrespect. You've got to establish what makes them a big three. And that's one of the big problems that I've always had with the WNBA, by the way. It's an ass-backward way of marketing yourself. They keep telling you that they're big, that they're important, and you're asking what makes them big and important, and nobody will tell you. Oh, no, they're just big and important. You'll see. No, I won't. So instead of just throwing out random names, this appears to be the goal of what the Sparks are trying to do. Better outside shooting. Guard Lexi Brown sinks about 40% of her three-point attempts. Same for forward Stephanie Talbot. That is the point. Their offense is probably going to be based with improved outside shooting. Now, if you enjoyed talking LA sports, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. As you can tell, we're pretty comprehensive around these parts. I'm James. Thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.